Happy Tuesday and happy weigh-in day. So before I tell you my events of yesterday, I'll just jump into the weigh-in. I'll plop up on the screen what I was last week, and then I'll also plop up what I was today. But as a reminder, I started this journey at 3:06 on January 23rd, and last week I was 268, and this week I am 267. Yes, so that is a 1 pound difference from last week, which I'm not shocked at and I'm not upset about, because if you remember my last weigh-in, I had a 6 pound difference, and that was because of the medication I was taking for the bleeding problem, and how it just made me not be able to eat and all of that stuff. So I am not mad. That means I am 1 pound away from being 40 pounds down officially. Actually, Saturday morning, I think I weighed myself, just as I took like my progress pictures, and I was exactly like 40.5 or something like that down. And I knew that once I started eating Saturday night, all of that, like, you know, not great food, that that it was gonna go back up with like bloat and all that stuff. So I'm not mad about it. I was able to indulge, enjoy myself, and that 40 pound mark down is only a pound away, so I am not mad about it. So yeah, that is my weigh-in for the week. Today is shot day. This is going to be the start of my 3rd box of 5 milligrams. And honestly, I don't see, like, unless I have a really weird month this month with the 5 milligram, I don't see myself moving up anytime soon, which makes me happy that I'm like still on such a low dose and I'm still doing so great. And I know that once the weight loss gets into like the 50s and like all that stuff, like the more you lose, the slower you lose it, or the harder it is to continue losing. So I'm fully aware and prepared for that to happen.
In 1 mile, turn right onto
but yeah, right now I'm just content where I'm at, and I feel good despite, you know, all the other stuff. But yesterday was my first day of 75 hard, and let me tell you, it started out amazing. I took my vitamins in the morning, got almost all of my water in. I think I got 4 out of the 6 water bottles that I needed to get in. What else? I ate all of my lunches, my snack, my breakfast. And then I had a plan for once I got home. I was gonna get home, do all of my like things that I needed to do first, like pack my lunch, get dinner started. Like, I decided that I'm gonna add a rule, like another rule to the end of my list that I have. I'm gonna add a 10-second tidy at nighttime, just because sometimes I have a bad habit of like focusing so much on everything else, like focusing on my eating healthy, focusing on getting my walks in, like too much, that I don't have the mental capacity to like put a few of the dishes that are in the sink in the dishwasher instead of just plopping them in the sink, or like putting my clothes in the hamper that's in my room instead of on my floor. Like, there's so many like little things that I could be doing that would make my space feel nicer, that I just don't do, because I don't have, like, by the end of the day, I don't have the mental capacity for it. And so that's going to be one of my rules that I'm adding for these next 75 days, is that I want to do like a 10-second tidy at the end of the night, whether that be in my you know, in my living room, whether it be in my bedroom, my kitchen, like wherever, I want to do a 10-second tidy. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Anyway, back to last night. So I got almost all my water in, drank everything, had my plan for getting home, doing my tidy, my lunches, taking my dog for a walk, whatever. Let's rewind a little bit to Saturday, because newsflash, first day of 75 hard was a complete fail. When we were with our friends and everything and doing our little party thing on Saturday, you know, everybody was having a good time, and my husband is a bigger guy. He's 6'3". He's very, like, big. I mean, you guys have seen a picture of him. I'll pop up a picture of him. But anyway, he's a larger fellow, and he loves that his party trick basically is that he can run really fast in short spaces for a bigger guy. And so he like raced one of our neighbors like 3 different times. And then one of our other friends really wanted to race him. And I'm sitting there going like, all right, guys, this is enough. Like, he's already ran 3 times. No one has gotten hurt so far. Like, let's count our, like, let's not do this again. Of course. Why the hell would they listen? And so they're at the starting point, and our other friends are down the street at the finish line. And Tim goes to do like a lunge to like stretch. So he's in like a deep lunge, and he's on a hill, and he loses his balance and he falls straight back. So luckily he didn't fall from like 6'3". He fell from probably my height of 5'1". But nonetheless, he fell back, and so his back hit first and then his head hit. And so of course we all like ran over to check on him, because he didn't like move or like make a noise right away. But like our friend Eric was right next to him, so like obviously I knew he was conscious and like awake. But he kind of just like laid there for a second. We helped him up, we assessed him, like there was no vomiting, he didn't lose consciousness, he had absolutely no bump on his head. He had his hat on backwards, so I think really that kind of took more of the, like, you know, the hit. But nonetheless, he hit his head, and you know that made me nervous. So I watched him like a freaking hawk the rest of Saturday night and Sunday. But he was, when I tell you, completely normal. Like all he kept saying was, "Oh damn, the ground is harder than like I remember it being. Like my back hurts." His head didn't hurt. He didn't even have a headache. Like literally nothing. Pupils were the same size. They were reactive. Like they were like nothing. He wasn't dizzy. He wasn't nauseous. He was eating fine. Like literally nothing. Okay. So I'm thinking, all right, well, we got lucky. He hit his head, but nothing happened. So then yesterday, while he's at work, I get a text message from him saying, "I just got sick." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I just got sick about 4 or 5 times." And I was like, huh. I was like, okay, well, have you, like, it was really hot yesterday, and he does HVAC, so I was like, did you drink enough water? Like, maybe you're dehydrated. Maybe it's the fact that, like, we ate really crappy on, like, Saturday. Like, maybe your body's just kind of getting rid of everything. And he was like, I don't know, but now I have, like, a pretty bad headache. And I was like, okay, well, we're not going to mess with that, because we basically were at, like, the 48-hour mark of him hitting his head. And that's not something I mess with. So I quickly made him an appointment just to see, like, our PCP. Long story short, she did, like, a concussion test on him, you know, checked his eyes, checked his strength, asked him all the questions, whatever, and cleared him that he definitely does not have a concussion, like, currently. Doesn't mean he didn't have a little one, but he doesn't have one currently. But because of the fact that he's on some medications for blood pressure, and that the getting sick is new now, and the headache is starting. She was like, I'm kind of concerned that like there's like a little bleed that you got Saturday night, but that it's not showing its face basically until now. And because it is basically 5 o'clock at this point, 4:30, and imaging places close at 5 o'clock, we want you to go to the ER to get a CAT scan. And I was like, oh my God. So when I left work, Tim and I were on the phone for like an hour trying to decide, like, okay, do you want to go? Do you feel like you have to go? Because like legally, they obviously kind of have to tell you that that's their opinion that you should go, because if they give you the all good and then you walk out and you collapse on the ground, like, you know what I mean? So obviously they're overly cautious, which is totally fine with me. But like our copay is expensive, and then the bill we're gonna get in the mail for the CAT scan and all that stuff, I'm sure is gonna be expensive. And so we were kind of just going back and forth. And at first we were both like, hell no, we're not doing that. And then like the more we thought about it, I was like, you know what? I know myself. I know every single move he makes, I'm not going to be able to like, is that because his brain is bleeding? And obviously my love for my husband is stronger than us, being in debt for a little bit longer than we already are. I mean, we're already struggling a bit anyway. Like, I'd rather struggle and know he's okay, or struggle and get him the help he needs if he needs it, than ignore it because of finances. So, he can't make a decision. I don't want to make the decision for him. So what do? I call my mom. And I'm like, this is the situation. What would you do? And she was like, that's hard, Trish. Like, kind of saying the same thing as me. Like, that's not something you want to mess with. And she was like, if it was me and Daddy, like, I think I would take him. So I was like, okay, well, then let's go. So I ran home quick while he went there and checked himself in, because we already knew it was going to be like hours until we were seen. And this was like a satellite hospital, so it wasn't like a huge, it was almost like a little bit bigger than an urgent care, but like not exactly a full hospital type thing. So like we were in the waiting room, of course, as you are with hospitals, for hours and hours and hours. And then before a doctor even saw him, they called him back and did the CAT scan. And then they brought us in the back, and it was kind of scary because at first the ER doctor came, and like progressively as we were waiting, I noticed that he was getting like more and more tired. His eyes were kind of getting a little more like spacey and glossy. And so I was like he's saying his head's hurting a little bit more. I was, getting a little bit concerned at that point, because up until that point I really was just kind of like, okay, I'm sure that this is just them being cautious. And then the doctor comes over and he's like, so me and another ER doctor like looked at your scans, and like we can't be for sure that there's nothing on there. Like, to us, there looks like there might be a little something. He said, it's not, we can tell that it's nothing that would require us to like go in and like take pressure off or like, blood off the brain. But like, to us, the ER doctor is just looking at it on our screen before the radiologist has read it. Like, it looks like there's a possibility that there's a little something. So he was like, so, we're not going to be able to discharge you yet. We need the radiologist to look at it. And radiology is really backed up, so there's a chance that like I won't even be here by the time you guys even get it read. But like, don't worry, we'll update the other doctor, blah, blah. And at that point, my heart dropped. Because I was like, okay, if it was completely clear, they wouldn't have seen anything. Like, because it wasn't a definite yes that there's something there, but it wasn't a definite no, and that's freaking scary. And when and mind you, this hospital's so small that they only have 12 beds, like 12 rooms. So we were in a bed in the hallway. So like, it's not even like we had like any privacy or anything, which is fine. Like, it's fine. but it just kind of added to the like what is actually going on. Anyway, basically I wasn't nervous up until that point, and then of course I started getting a little concerned. And then registration came over, as they do, to like, you know, get your name and all that stuff, your insurance and whatever. And as he's talking to her, he's like getting confused. Like, he couldn't remember our zip code. He couldn't remember the name of his primary care. They like it, like certain things that they were like saying, or like asking him, he was answering the questions incorrectly. And that's when I started to get really nervous. And so I called the nurse over and I was like, can you just let the doctor know that he's like getting a little confused now, and like that's new, and that's like making me concerned. Because remember, he was totally fine Saturday night, totally fine Sunday, and now all of a sudden he's confused, has a headache, and is vomiting. Okay, so I don't know if because he was getting a little confused and like his pain level was going up, that they kind of like rushed the technician to look, you know, the radiologist to look at his scans. But anyway, thank God, he has no bleed, but he has a really bad concussion. And the doctor said that, like, you know, it's not like super common, but it's also not like super uncommon, that like basically a like late concussion happened. And so he was saying, you know, you gotta be out of work. Like, he wants him out of work until Thursday or Friday, which again really sucks, because that means he doesn't get paid for it. You know, doesn't want him on any screens. Like, they're taking this really seriously. And he said, like, you hit your head, like you rattled your brain, like you know, you need to just rest. I don't know if maybe it was the fact that those symptoms started coming out because he was at work yesterday. Like, you know, obviously Sunday we didn't really do much, we were just kind of relaxing. It happened so late Saturday night that he went to sleep a few hours later, like when I felt like he was safe to do so. So like, I don't know if it was because, you know, he was actually like using his brain and like doing heavy lifting, and this is not that's why all of a sudden the concussion symptoms came out. But it's so strange, because the PCP doctor, like literally an hour before the hospital, had just cleared him for no concussion. But the ER doctor said, he was like, no, I'm glad she had like a test to do, like looking at your eyes and, you know, making sure that there was no like stroke-like symptoms and stuff. But the true test is based on how you feel. And he was like, you're a little confused, you have a headache, you threw up, you hit your head, like you have a concussion. So treat it as if you have a concussion. And so that's what we're doing. So luckily, I mean, luckily and unluckily, we were there for a really long time, but we were out by like 9:30ish. So really like 4 to 4.5 hours, which in a hospital really isn't that bad. So I'll take it. I mean, even if we were there for freaking 70 hours and they told me he was fine, like it wouldn't matter to me. But that is how my first day of 75 hard went. Not how I had imagined it, but you know, funny actually, I really was, because we got home around like 9:30, and I was like, okay, I have like 30 minutes, and I really could, like, I could try to like finish out my day. I just have to chug another like 3 water bottles and get like 30 minutes of exercise in really fast, and then jump right in bed at 10. And I was like, and then like my day, like my first day would be complete. And then I was like looking at Tim, and I was like, okay, that sounds wild. But I am in traffic now. I am going to head to work for today. I think we're on the up and up. Just gonna make him take it slow, and I'm gonna try to, you know, they weren't lying when they said that this would be 75 hard. This is gonna be a long 75 days. I'll tell you that. So, but it could be worse, and I'm thankful he's all right. But yep, that was my weigh-in, my failed 75 hard day 1 attempt, and an update on my clumsy husband.